apologize. I have no idea who he's talking about. But we'll try and do something here. So, first thing I want to say is how many of you, I know when you came in this morning, you looked around, say hi to people, let's not ignore anybody. How many of you, raise your hands, how many of you have competitors in the audience? Raise your hand. Ooh, just a couple. I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. The rest of you, how lucky for you that your competitors are somewhere else and not taking advantage of what you're going to learn today. And they have no idea how you're going to kick their butt in 2020. Now, I care about people, so if you want, during a break, give me the names and addresses of your competitors, and I will send them sympathy cards. Good luck next year as conversation kicks your butt. The other thing, how many have heard John Maxwell? Everyone's read a couple John Maxwell books? Yeah, 25 books. 25 books or more on leadership, and when Jeff calls me, he goes, you get 18 minutes. I go, you serious? 25 books, we get 18 minutes. So we're going to try and get to some good things. So right off the bat, I hope I make some of you uncomfortable. In fact, I don't even care if some of you get angry with me. If it causes you to do something that you wouldn't have otherwise done. So typically, here's what happens in things like this in training. 15% of you are going to take notes, you're going to go home, and you're going to commit to taking actions to do those things. You're going to measure them, you're going to follow them, and you're going to become a core part of your DNA. Another 50% of you are going to feel pretty good about today. You're going to talk about it at work with your family, and then a month from now, you're going to be busy again. The rest of you you don't know it, but you may do nothing. Nothing. So right now, some of you are going, I don't like this guy. I can't believe he's saying it. He doesn't know who we really are. So that causes all of you to be in that first category and take some action for what you learn. I'll be very happy about that. Now, this is like a little Jeff Davis coaching session. Years ago, he was working with me, and I finally said, please just give me the answer, Jeff. I could have killed him. Of course he wouldn't. So when you look at this slide and you look at the conductor, if you cannot, right in your own mind, go, I know exactly what he means about being a conductor in leadership, I suggest you figure it out. And I'm not going to tell the answer. But I'll be here all day. I'll be glad to talk to you and help you. So little Jeff Davis saying, look at that conductor. If that's not you and all that joy and glory of conducting an orchestra, sounding great, you better figure it out. See me at the break. So I want to start with the purpose of leadership. By the way, I'm young. I'm very young. But I don't remember everything. So I don't remember who said this. It wasn't me. My favorite definition of leadership, deliver on the promise of a better tomorrow. Every day I think about that. What am I going to do that we can deliver on a promise of a better tomorrow? This is not hope isn't a strategy stuff, but as leaders we have to provide hope and deliver on a promise of a better tomorrow. And if you've ever said, well, luckily I'm in charge because it could have been a lot worse, then maybe you should be a manager but not a leader. So everything I'd like you to think about in the next couple of minutes is think about delivering on the promise of a better tomorrow. Now Albert Einstein said, leaders, we need to keep things simple and no simpler. So we only have to do two things as leaders. Number one, live the mission, vision, and values of the organization. Two, deliver results. That's it. No more. If we do that, we're going to be pretty good. If we don't, we shouldn't be there. So where's the missed opportunity here? Well, I would suspect that none of you fall into one of these categories. Because see, it's not an either or, it's a both. It's a both. So I'd like you to leave here today thinking about your leaders in your organization going, do I have anybody who is not exhibiting both? And if so, what am I doing about that? Coaching, training, hold them accountable, or maybe have to move them out. Because if you do, they are causing you irreparable harm. You just have no idea where it is. So the first missed opportunity is when we as leaders allow people to do things, not deliver results, and not behave and live the way we're supposed to behave in that organization. Little saying, leaders get the behaviors they exhibit or tolerate. So when a leader comes to me and says, Tony, we got some problems with the leadership team, and here's what they're doing, I go, oh, it's your fault. It's always your fault because you're the leader. You're either doing it or you're tolerating it. So first opportunity, go back, think of your leaders up and down. Anybody not doing both, you need to do something about it or problems being caused. So I'd like you to write this down. If I were, and put your name and your title of your organization, I would what? So some big missed opportunities that you don't realize. Are you ready? I have no clue what they are. I don't know. How would I know? I don't know you. I don't know your companies. Tell you who knows. The people in your company. The people who report to you. So if I were you within the next week, I'd be asking all those folks, if you were me, what would you do? Now, I came up with this because people came into my office when I was running a large company and sit down and talk to me as if they didn't know that I knew that they knew I was the guy in charge. So I would get up, go to their seat and say, so you're in charge, what would you do? What would you do? Now, to give an example, CarMax, one of the largest retailers of used cars in this country. One of the founders, CEO, used to go and still does visit the car lots. So he was on a car lot, I think it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's an hourly person, moves cars around, probably retired from somewhere else. So CEO went up to him and said, hey, Harry, if you were me, what would you do? He said, I'll tell you what I would do. We sell cars retail and wholesale. The retail cars we fill up with gas. The wholesale cars, nobody cares. Why don't we take the gas out of the wholesale cars and fill up the retail cars and save some money? $750,000 a year. And you might think that's a lot of money. Oh, it even gets better, because now this is like an annuity. It compounds every year we don't do these things. Why? Because he looked at an hourly person moving cars around, goodness knows what his background was, and asked, what would you do if you were me? Years and years ago, FedEx, we all know who FedEx is, spent hundreds of millions of dollars rebranding, painting airplanes, all kinds of stuff. The whole thing flopped. Disaster. So FedEx got a chance to meet the head of sales and marketing, brought all these folks in from all over the country to try and determine what happened. About halfway through the day, there's this young man in the back of the room. He was a shipping department supervisor on a warehouse dock in Brooklyn. And raised his hand and said, Francis, I don't care about all that stuff. All I care about is that you absolutely positively get it the next day. You may remember that became the new tagline for FedEx. Turned everything around. An hourly person in a shipping dock. All kinds of things. So, talk to your folks, get some ideas. Oh, and by the way, if you don't want to do that, you can hire me. I'll come in. I'll do the same thing, and I will tell you, you'll be happy, I'll get paid, I'll leave, and I'll give the credit to all your folks. But you can do that. I'd rather you not. So, the next thing, benchmarking. Results. Compare to the best. Core processes that deliver results. I find many times people really don't embrace benchmarking compared to the industry, their peers, others. And you're losing a big opportunity because you don't really know how good you are, do you? But when you do that and you see whether you're really performing or not, now you know what the gap is in and how to go after that. So I'm going to give you a couple examples about that. Hatfield Quality Meats. You probably all know who they are. I have the great fortune of being on a board with the past CEO. He and his leadership team, unless they were in the top 20% of performers, they didn't get any bonuses. You didn't have to worry about them being average, but they knew what it was and they performed. Another organization I was working with, and I said to them, to the operating guy, now this is a big, big company, and I said, so what's the key measure of productivity for all your operations? And they told me, I said, where are we at? He said, we're 82%. Oh, okay. Now there's 12, 15 people in the room. I said, so what's the industry average? Looked down, I said, 84. 84. By the way, silence is a great leadership tool. So I said 84. I paused, I looked around the room. I said, wow. You don't strike me as a group of people that come to work to be below average. That's all I did. Next year, they exceeded the industry average. And by the way, this drove an additional $2 million to the bottom line. And by the way, I'm fortunate most of the companies I associate with are very religious and caring and give 10% of the money away. $200,000 check to charity next year just because of that. And then he kept on the request. But if you don't know how you're performing and what the best looks like, how do you get there? Went to work with another client that was a little bit of trouble, and I said, you have any of this peer data? Yep. So where are we? We're in the bottom quartile. Ooh, wow. What's the difference in money between the bottom quartile and the average? $3.5 million a year, bottom line. To the best, $7 million. And then the CFO said something. I was so excited. He said, Tony, you don't understand. Jeff, I love when clients say, you don't understand. I said, yeah, you're right, I don't understand. So what? Well, you don't understand that our owners make us do things for employees that nobody else does. They don't pay for health care, on and on and on. Okay, how much is that? He told me. I said, add it into the bottom line. How much is it? Where are you at now? He goes, well, we're at the top of the bottom quartile. Seriously. So with benchmark data, it's a little hard to hide, and you want to strive to be the best of the best. So if you're not benchmarking your data and performance, you should. Here's when it's even better yet, is on your core processes. If you haven't identified the critical core processes that drive a consistent great customer experience and profitability, you should identify and benchmark them. Southwest Airlines, where do you hear this? Southwest Airlines, I think I'm right, only airline company ever profitable their entire existence, for two reasons. One I won't bore you with. The other one is they turn planes faster than anybody. Turning planes fast is a core process. In the air, we're making money. Sitting on the ground, not so much. So who could they go benchmark against? They were the best. They took their key people and embedded them in the NASCAR pit crew teams. And they learned from them about what to do and how to do things differently and better. Wow. Now, for you nonprofit leaders, you may be thinking, oh, Tony, that doesn't apply to us. Baloney. You have competitors too. One of the things I find with nonprofits is while they hire or they attract these great talent for their board and they're great board members, the leaders don't even know what competence and skill sets the board members have that if they had breakfast with could help them. One organization, I was doing strategic planning with them, and we're going through this stuff and talking about best places to work and employee engagement, and I was sitting there going, oh my gosh. I stopped the whole meeting and I said, do any of you know that there's somebody in the room who ran the #1 best place to work in Pennsylvania? Nobody knew. Do any of you know that one of the guys' title at his company is Chief Culture Officer? Nobody realized that. Great guy, retired recently. Did any of you know that Larry Brown was HR head at High Industries and is an expert on this? All this talent, ability, capability to leverage and create best practices. So I would highly recommend that you identify those core processes and do them. I'll give you another example. I have been known, so my wife says, to saying yes to things I should say no to and get myself in trouble all the time. So after I chaired the United Way campaign in Lebanon County, they said, we want to start this Tocqueville Giving Society, 10,000 up. They never had done that. I said, sure. What'd I do? It's pretty simple. I found out who is the best in eastern Pennsylvania in this. Reading, Pennsylvania, we went up there for a day, and they were happy to share what they did. And you can leapfrog results. Leapfrog results. Probably the worst volunteer job I had was president of church council. That was interesting. When I became president, I asked some questions. There's a church in Lansdale, Trinity Lutheran Church. They are unbelievable. Took everybody down there and said, what do you do? How do you do it? How can we do that? That senior pastor down there could have run any organization I've ever seen. Just that fabulous. So think about core processes. Go out and benchmark against the best. They do not have to be in industry, and see what it is. The other thing, and here there's a lot of opportunity and money. This is my favorite one. And there's some people I'm going to talk about, they're in here today, and I'm so proud of them, but their names will remain anonymous. But years ago, again, chairing the United Way campaign, one of our companies, premier companies, tough times, laid off half their workforce. And I went in to visit with the CEO, and I said, hey, what are we going to do? Because I was a campaign chairman. He goes, Tony, we're not going to run a campaign this year. What? Oh, no, he said, I wouldn't feel right doing that to our employees. Half the employees were let go. I'm sure they're concerned, worried about money, et cetera. That probably wouldn't be good. I paused. I said, Jeff, I got an idea. It seems to me you're making a decision that they should make. Let's do this. Let's you and I commit that you are going to run the very best United Way campaign you could ever run. Let them figure that out. He was amazed. I was not. By far, their best campaign ever raised the most amount of money ever. Why? Because they were thankful they had jobs. They cared about their fellow employees in their communities, and they responded. So strong requests are about understanding who our people are and being able to make strong requests of them. Another organization I was working with and went on their board. Budget time, we got this budget, and as the only outsider, I said, not so fast. I think we're short. And the CEO said, well, what are we going to do? Change the budget? I said, oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to get all these business leaders together who have done a fabulous job getting us where we have, And we're going to tell them this is a bit short. And we're going to ask them to go back to their business units and talk to their people and see where we can come up with another $500,000. See what they can do. He did that, they did that, they came back. They executed on it. They measured those things. The results of that were far more than the $500,000. Now, the CEO pulled me aside and he said, Tony, you're pretty good. I go, what are you talking about? He said, look what you did. I go, I did nothing but make a strong request through you. I didn't come up with the ideas. I didn't execute on the ideas. I didn't measure the ideas. They did all the work. We just made a strong request. Another couple examples I've done a number of times with organizations. I just did this a week ago on a new corporate board I'm chairing. And I said, so when's the last time we gave employees increases? And by the way, I care deeply about people. I care more about the hourly folks than the leaders, because you already have more money than they do. So I'm very sensitive about that. So we haven't given them increases for 3 years. Things were tough. Well, we can't do that. I'm not going to be a part of that. And the president said, what are we going to do? I said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. What's a 3% increase cost? It's about $300,000. I suggest you get your leadership team together and you say to them, there is no way we can sit here and allow that to happen again. So we need to figure out where we're going to get $300,000 from. So we can give increases. And time after time, people respond, and they respond to those strong requests. And it never ceases to amaze me the great things people can and will do. Now, a secret about people, if you've been a reasonably good leader and you care about them, and you use words like, I need your help, people love to help, want to help, and want to respond. So, strong requests. What are you doing? The last one I want to share, Dick Knowlton, former chairman and CEO of Hormel Foods a long time ago, said, the closer you get to the edge of the ravine, the sweeter the smell of the flowers. We heard about risk-taking. So another opportunity for you is on pricing. Sorry, Jeff, no leadership stuff, pricing, where the money comes from. I've had a great opportunity to work with tons of great sales and marketing people. Only one has ever proven to me he's willing to go to the edge of the ravine on pricing. Only one. So if you let up to those folks, you're not going to maximize that. Why? It's understandable. The customers. We want to keep the customers. We don't want to irritate the customers. We don't want to lose the customers. So here's the questions I usually ask. Are we able to gain new customers? Yeah, we do. Do we ever lose customers? No, not usually. Has anybody left us for price? No, not really. Let me look at all your quality complaints. Oh, we don't really have many. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to increase prices. And here's how much, and here's how we're going to do it. And we're going to push the edge. And if we don't get any complaints or anything, then we haven't done enough of it. Now, every once in a while, somebody says, well, Tony, that's not fair to the customer. What? They're happy with us. They think we're providing great value. And it's not like we're just being selfish here. What are we going to do with the money? Team members, customers, vendor partners, communities, shareholders. It's not about just us being greedy. It's about being good stewards with what we have and maximizing that. So I would suggest you to go back to organizations, nonprofit or otherwise, and say, from a pricing standpoint, margin standpoint, are we really pushing the envelope? And I'd be happy to take a few phone calls from customers who are upset about that. Now, the last one, since I only have 123 left, how many of you, show of hands, Rogers and Associates, I hope you raise your hands, have 401ks, retirement plans, you're saving for retirement? Raise your hands. Oh, good. Oh, good. So, people like to talk to me about investments and money because I serve as trustee in pension plans all the time. They want to know the very best investment idea. I go, okay. Time. It takes a long time. And asset allocation. Right? These are the experts. If you allocate everything to cash, you're never going to get anywhere. So the last thing I'd like to talk about is for you to think about one of the most powerful things a leader gets to do is allocate resources. Mike Shirk was hired High Industries a couple of years ago. He was interviewed. He said resource allocation has to be important. So my question for you is, how great a job are you doing on allocating resources to things? Oh, well, we did a budget last year. We did a budget this year. This is very difficult to cut out things, to starve parts of businesses that may not be the future, and to feed other parts of the business that we may not get a payoff with in 3-4 years. And CEOs, presidents who allocate resources very strenuously, double the importance and the likelihood of success. So one quick story, and then I'll sit down. I know people don't like me to talk about Jack Welch at GE because Tony, he's been out of there for 15 years. Well, he created phenomenal shareholder value, which hasn't happened since. And when he took over the company, they were in trouble, and they used to call him Neutron Jack, unfortunately. He used to slash, cut, burn off divisions and things like that. At the same time he was doing that, he was spending $50 million, Croton, Connecticut, to develop GE leadership. Cutting all these jobs, cutting all these businesses, spending $50 million. He got a real hard time about that. Well, I guess he was right. And if you were to ask him in his latter years, he'd say, well, we don't manufacture locomotives and other things. We create leaders. So think about those parts of your business that maybe shouldn't be there anymore, maybe you should be starving and taking some money from, and putting into some more promising areas and things like that. Resource allocation, one of the most important and powerful things you do. I am very honored and thankful to be here today. I am sure throughout all the speakers you're going to get some things. Never forget the joy that you should have, and my view of leadership is what a joy to be a leader. People used to say, oh, I never went to your job. I say, well, what a great job. But think about what we can do and the leverage that we can exhibit with all those folks to create joy, enhance the lives of so many people in the community. It's about the best profession you could ever hope for. So congratulations for being here today. I'll be here all day. If you want to argue, yell at me. I'm happy to hear that throughout the day. Thank you very much.